very simple way to solve this. It's written, you know, my name is Bill. I was brought up on Schoolhouse Rock. I'm Just a Bill is a very good song that folks ought to check out. But all fact-based.
Yeah, true.
If they just have the vote, if there is a bipartisan majority that will pass this, that we could use to avert this shutdown, why the theatrics? Why flirt with disaster? Why show the global community that the United States can't, as a government, get the job done? All over a law that was passed by the House, passed by the Senate, signed into law by the President, ratified by the Supreme Court of the United States.
It's shameful.
But a Republican court.
This was crammed down the people's throats, and it is not popular. And Obama has refused to back off of it at all because, as Matt Lauer said, I endorse what Chris Matthews said. This is Obama's baby. How can he? This is not about Obama and his narcissism, no offense. I know you used to work for him. This is about the best interest of the United States. I don't care if it's his baby. He is going to, in the end, ironically, bring down his own party as well as the nation by insisting on Obamacare, because he lost in 2010, the Congress, because of Obamacare. 2012, because of the Limbaugh theorem my brother talks about. Obama's never held accountable for his own actions. He's skated by
in an election where the American people overwhelmingly reelected him.
He's going to, it's amazing. It's mystifying. 2014,
That's how democracy
going to lose
works.
Again.
That is how democracy works, David.
No, I can tell you how democracy works, and it's not what Obama says. He says, democracy doesn't work like this, with Congress not yielding to all my dictates. Yes, that's exactly how a constitutional republic works.
Congress
checks and balances, separation of
voted.
Pardon?
They didn't yield. They voted to pass Obamacare. And just to get back to your question, I see, on why is the president being so strong in his position?
Is it Harry Reid? Harry Reid apparently is telling the president, don't negotiate. Is that who he's listening to?
I think what the president is saying is, if we buckle on this, if we keep buckling on that, like, where does it end? Like, at what point? Hold on.
It's in a lower deficit every time he buckles. but you take credit.
But here's the question. So let's say the president were to give up Obamacare. He would say, you know what? I don't want to default. Obamacare is repealed. It's done. I will agree to that deal. Where does it stop?
But
right?
That's not the argument I'm having. I know some people are. I'm not saying give up Obamacare or redefault. I'm saying attach the debt ceiling to spending cuts, deficit reduction, which, by the way, has historically happened dozens of times, and which the American people, 61%, according to recent polling, thinks should happen because Congress cannot be trusted with spending. That's what I'm saying. And you haven't answered yet why the president won't negotiate if he thinks defaulting is so catastrophic.
Well, two things, and Stephanie, but number one, he has negotiated. Negotiated a deal that Republicans wanted, that Eric Cantor said would be a win. And second, you know, just if you take a step back at what's happening here, I think that we are in a period of politics that you could say started with the recall of Gray Davis, where elections suddenly don't matter as much as they used to because Americans or members of Congress or members of the Tea Party, however you want to look at it, look at this process and say, you know what, I didn't like the outcome of that election. I'm going to go try to undo it. I didn't like that bill that got passed. I'm going to go try to outdo it. I'm not putting it all on one party or another.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that we're in this new phase where there's no time in the process to actually make progress. And so as people are at loggerheads constantly, all we are doing is moving backwards because the world is looking at us saying, you can't even deal with your own government and country.
I do think we're at a unique point of dysfunction. But I do want to point out a couple of things about negotiation. The last time we were in this position, where the president set up a negotiation process with John Boehner. John Boehner couldn't negotiate because he didn't have any control over his Tea Party. So on the eve of a deal, he walked away. What happened? The American people lost $1 trillion in their savings. That's 401ks, money wiped out. The stock market dropped significantly. We got a downgrade in our credit rating. That's what happens when you try to negotiate with someone who doesn't have the authority to negotiate. So who do you negotiate in the House of Representatives? Boehner keeps moving the goalpost. Tea Party's in control. Ted Cruz in the Senate, but he's calling the shots in the House. Who do you negotiate with?
We didn't get a downgrade because of the impasse. We got a downgrade because of Obama's economy and this debt. $17 trillion of debt, $90 trillion of unfunded liabilities, which Obama has clearly stated he has no intention to do anything about. But Obama has gotten his way, notwithstanding your statement that we keep having gridlock all over the place. He got his way on the stimulus. He got his way on Obamacare, Dodd-Frank. And on the things that he can't get his way legislatively, he has done an end run around Congress, lawless executive order with the DREAM Act and the EPA. It's shameful what's going on. And look at the results of Obama's agenda being implemented. The worst economy, the worst recovery in 60 years. You guys talk about the best debt reduction in 60 years. That's because you compare it to a different baseline of $1.1 trillion starting. And he has only reduced the debt deficit because Republicans made him. You guys ought to be ashamed.
Of successful debt ceiling negotiations.
Yes, thank you. You ought to be ashamed of his record, with all due respect. I am scared of our future, for our future, because we won't do anything to rein in the debt and spending.
Bill, are you ashamed of his record?
Bill?
I think it's fair to say that I am not ashamed of the president's record, because I was there.
The American people when they reelected him.
Right. Stephanie was there at the White House.
Well, his approval numbers are pretty bad
When we pulled this economy back from the brink, the financial industry got saved, the auto industry got saved, the war in Iraq was ended, the war in Afghanistan was begun to get winded down. The president inherited a historic disaster of an economy, and what he's been able to do through the leadership of himself, his economic team at the White House, partners in Congress, is actually bring it back and put us on a path to growth as opposed to the path that it was on, if you recall, shedding 700,000 jobs per month when he came into office.
He inherited a bad economy caused by policies that he endorsed, like the housing policies, and Bush had a good economy for 6 to 7 of his 8 years, and unemployment averaged 5.3%. The deficit.
No, that's right. He inherited an awesome economy.
2007, 261 days. No,
the next president will not.
Bush turned record surpluses into record deficits, and that's a fact. But we have to go to a break right now.
Well.